Sienna God, hello all. Osha Sahiya, good evening, Wado, thank you for watching. So this is day 38 of reading Lone Wolf Alpha Squad copy over by James Rink. And I am finishing up on the details about Greg Rinchich, R-I-N-C-H-I-C-H. This is chapter 18, Neotech, and this is what it looks like. I'm not sure if that's Facebook or if that's, I don't think that's YouTube, I have no idea. But I'm gonna finish up reading right here. It says, details about Greg, favorite quotes. My favorite two sayings is, quote, whether you say you can or you can't, either way you're right, by Rick Young III. War is not a necessity, it's only necessary, by me, Greg Rinchich. In 2008, I crossed paths with Lieutenant Colonel SC, aka Greg Rinchich, who was posting videos on YouTube about the Osiris Project and human cloning. He claimed to work as a CIA assassin, declared that he'd killed 300 plus people, and had worked as a sniper at Area 51. After talking back and forth over the phone for a few years, he suggested I come visit his place in person so that I could write his book. He lived only 90 minutes away from me. I showed up at his house, and he is about as redneck as you can get. His home was built on the side of a mountain, and despite the campy motorhome appearance, the view was beautiful. As I started to write his book with my laptop, he received a phone call from the power company threatening to turn the electricity off. He had no food in his refrigerator. He was desperate to get his book done. It turns out the military cut off his pension because he was speaking out publicly. I felt sorry for him and wanted to help. The colonel was a very gifted welder and had created a unique design for a studio tornado and bomb shelter. He had sold these units in the past and was successful, but his business failed. So in summer 2010, I agreed to loan $7,000 needed to get the business up and running, provided I was given oversight of the financial side of the operation, which would allow me full disclosure of how the funds were spent. I let him know if he tried to cheat me, karma would be very bad for him. We put the book project aside until he was back on his feet financially. He signed over some land as collateral, and we began working together. I took care of all his overdue bills. He was on the verge of losing both his car and house. I also took care of the past due co-payments on the medication for his handicapped son, who lived in a group home. With that out of the way, we got to work. He built a prototype while he worked on marketing. Excuse me. During this time, I would commute to his home on the weekends to check up on the business. He told me a story about this demonic being showing up on his property near his welding shop. One night, I was outside with his dog, and I heard a loud, deep growl near the location where the entity was last seen. The dog turns around and starts violently barking in that direction. I didn't see anything, but I visualized a positive energy around myself and quickly went inside. Looking back, I had a feeling that this entity was hanging out around the colonel due to all the people he'd killed over the years as an assassin. I was also witness to a painkiller opioid addiction, which was a result of shrapnel still inside his body during combat that was probably causing him to go manic. His wife's health was in decline. She would walk with a limp and cane due to a muscle degeneration disorder, which were destroying her feet. And she also had cancer, which was slowly killing her body. I don't know if Greg viewed her as unattractive, or perhaps he was a man of no honor, but I overheard a conversation in which he told her she deserved what was coming. He privately told me he wanted to divorce his wife and marry an 18-year-old girl he was chatting with over the internet. He wanted to send the woman some money because he claimed she was being held ransom by terrorists who were holding her captive. Man, this guy. The colonel pulled me aside one evening and told me he had dug up some information on Nathan. On a scale of 0 to 5, the NSA ranked me and Nathan at a 0 and claimed they had no data on us. So we go outside to talk this over. We sit on the back of his pickup truck. He insists only 20 people in the world are being experimented on, and I wasn't one of them. When I mentioned the needle marks, he would not answer and claimed it wasn't real. I felt like I was arguing with a robot. I decided to stop arguing my points and accept that he was not going to be the one to help me find the answers I was seeking. On my next visit, I woke up Sunday morning to find Greg's welding assistant crying. Apparently, one of Greg's dogs was sleeping under the tire of their truck, and his coworker backed up and killed it. What is weird is the night before, that same dog was trying to hump every girl dog on the property. Maybe he knew his time was coming, or maybe it was Greg's time that was coming for the treachery he had planned for me. Since I didn't use an attorney to write up the contract, I soon discovered that the loan wasn't properly collateralized. The deed for the land was under his wife's name and not the business. It belonged to his wife and not the colonel who first informed me. When I politely asked her to modify the contract, she refused, saying it was hers and hers alone. At that point, I should have just pulled out and sued them. Excuse me. But it would cost more money in litigation to get my money back, so I decided to keep moving forward as planned. After he burned through $6,000, the colonel informed me one of his arc welders had died, and he needed $400 to find a replacement. Otherwise, all of the work on the prototype would come to a stop. Since he didn't have time to get the arc welder that same day, I handed him my credit card and stipulated that it should only be used to purchase an arc welder. I only had $500 of credit left on that card. I figured it would also be a good test to see if he could follow this simple task. Oh my gosh. The next day, I got a call from my bank telling me someone tried to make an unauthorized cash advance on my account. Turns out the colonel tried unsuccessfully at 3 different locations to take out a cash advance on my credit card, which was all denied because that card was not enabled for cash advances. I called his wife, and initially she told me the colonel didn't have his glasses on and must have punched the wrong buttons. She couldn't explain why he was at an ATM other than he was trying to use his own bank cards, but must have somehow put mine in by accident. Clearly a lie. I knew the colonel had no honor and most likely would never see any return from our project. 2 hours later, I get a phone call from the now crying wife. She had discovered that the colonel was trying to take out cash advances with the company money that he could send $500 to rescue his internet girlfriend. Oh my God. I asked the colonel why he lied to me, but he became belligerent. He would instead yell at me, "I'm not a liar, I'm not a liar." I told him that he seemed to suffer from a problem with embellishing the truth. I asked him to be an honorable person and fulfill his commitments to the business, but the colonel defaulted on the loan after his first payment, and without money or credit, I was unable to sue and had to write off the bad debt. Oh my God. Eventually, I was forced into default myself and spent many years with ruined credit and lawsuits with my creditors. Rumor is they are still together, but their health is diminishing. I have not heard from them since. Around this time, I crossed paths with Cambodian American Kosol, Kosol, Ouch, Kosol, ouch. I saw one of his videos on YouTube showing how to make a meditation device to relax and heal themselves. Most of the designs he was working on looked out of this world. I told him I was a victim of Montauk-style programming. He wrote me back saying I should build a cube to help me integrate, which I did eventually. Kosol was a very gifted seer, S-E-E-R. Kosol said the colonel was laughing at me and had no intentions of ever paying back the money. Kosol also told me he was used as a MyLab himself for gathering information for the Akashic records. He read my file. In quotes, Agent Sabretooth, 5th generation super soldier activated by trauma, consciousness transferred into clone avatars, used for searches, extractions, and exterminations. You are on the cleanup crew. The Cabal sends you in to kill people they don't like. End quote. When I asked him if he knew anything about Nathan Wilder, he told me his file was red hot and to never mention him again, otherwise he would get in trouble. Since I didn't take any notes, I asked him to repeat the information so that I could write it down with more details. But he refused, saying it would be better to make a cube and find the memories for myself instead of being told what happened. I liked how the cube made me feel, but I was still unable to get my memories back. I continued meditating over the next few days and still didn't remember what was being done to me. Kosol's Meditation Devices, 2011. There they are. There's like shells there or something like that. Hopefully they'll say what's in that and how it was constructed. When I confronted Kosol again, he informed me that he didn't really want to tell me because I was traumatized so badly. It would be better for me to just slowly integrate on my own, but first I needed to get over the stress and anxiety I was suffering, and then I could unlock the trauma. He said my meditation device was disrupting the covert government's ability to transfer my memories via the trip chair into my cloned avatar, and as a result, all my clones had to be terminated. They had begun to go rogue. He suggested I build more units to get more power. After building a few more units and meditating with them daily, my mood swings and depression started to lift. Around the end of the summer of 2010, I walked away from my debt payments, filed for food stamps, and suggested to Casal we could go into business together. I would build units and promote the meditation cubes, and in return, I would pay him a commission for helping me out. Since the meditation cube was going nowhere with the people he was currently working with, he jumped on the idea. Casal always told me he was glad he handed me the technology. He knew I could get the job done no matter what the cabal would throw at us. He even said what made super soldiers super was how we are good at multitasking. Whatever task were thrown at us, we would excel. With the last bit of money I had and a $100 gift card for my dad, I founded Neo Lab Technologies. We chose that name, Neo, Neolab, because that's the place where the covert government takes my lab victims to get brainwashed. We were poking jokes at the cabal, and instead of brainwashing people, we were setting them free. A.R. Borden, B-O-R-D-O-N, head of the ACIO, asked me what was going on and suggested I change the company name, as it would piss the powers that be off. So instead we chose Neological instead, which root word means birth of reason. From that point on, all the devices were referred to as Neos, N-E-O-S. The Neo meditation device contain cones which produce chi and inner spheres containing crystal powers and copper laid out in harmony with sacred geometry. They work based on the principle that there is a certain vibrational frequency which flows all throughout nature found within the Fibonacci sequence, sacred geometry, and the Schumann resonance. When you tap into this vibrational frequency, you can interface with God, helping your body relax so you can begin to integrate your consciousness. Chi energy is compressed into the center of the unit, where it opens up a Stargate portal into the 5th dimension, drawing down what you want into the 3rd dimension. You could consider them reality generators. Some users who have remote viewed the it says Ark of Covenant, but it's Ark of the Covenant, but anyway, claim it contains the same configuration as the Neo meditation device. Even with the business name change, the powers that be were still angry at me. My clones were not functioning as they used to. Hundreds of millions of dollars spent on me was going down the drain. They considered Agent Sabretooth a rogue asset and blamed Casal for that. Additionally, the device was helping to awaken the general public and enlighten their own spirituality. Casal knew what he was doing, though. He told me I was already an obsolete model, and the cabal was planning to let me self-destruct around the age 45 from suicide. But he told me it was a waste of super soldier to do that. He too had broken somewhat from his captor's wishes. He told me that my labs had originally recruited him to gather intel for the Air Force, but parts of his fractured mind were jealous of me. He wanted to have the same superhuman abilities I had. His animosity and programming showed up from time to time as egotism. Potential customers were calling me and complaining about Casal's treatment towards them. He would often order clients around demanding they purchase a unit. Around March 2011, things got so bad that I had to remove him as a representative of the company. I also noticed he was posting embarrassing videos on how to become more powerful than the elite by using his meditation devices. At that point, the covert government started to harass him. In June 2011, he started to get threatening phone calls. He told me that someone was leaving messages on his voicemail stating, "Your technology will be ours." He psychically looked, okay, this is how it reads. He psychically looked who was calling and pinpointed an NSA liaison, working directly under the cabal head. I asked him to give me names, but Casal was too scared to give me any information. He told me that the cabal head wanted to negotiate with him, since, in his words, he was viewed as the head of my company and not me. Additionally, they knew I would not cooperate and give in to their demands. Casal was informed they wanted to control the Neo technology and weaponize it for black ops and mind control purposes. Since this technology is based on a sacred geometry, Using the technology for evil will end in disastrous results. I had my contacts look into this to see if Casal was indeed being truthful, and their sources revealed that we were indeed red hot on the radar. With few other options left, I decided to gift the nanotechnology to the Cambodian minister at the UN as their property, so that an attack on this company would be like an attack against the UN. Whoa. Casal also informed me that the cabal head wanted to fly him to an undisclosed location in Europe to discuss whether to either buy us off, make neological technologies a compartment of the shadow government, kill us, or kidnap Casal and take him to an underground facility to work on devices for the covert government while a clone lived out his life on the surface, which is what they did around July 2011. Oh man. According to the information relayed to me after the meeting with the cabal head, he was taken to an underground facility, possibly in Venezuela. Casal, living the civilian life, was then replaced with a clone, and right away his personality shifted. He blamed me for all of his problems, claiming the cabal head found out about our work from my Super Soldier Talk videos. He also accused me of ruining his life, resulting in deportation of his wife and family back to Cambodia. Whoa. And so here's a picture of the Neo Meditation Cube IDL-80 device. Seriously, I need to scrub my hands. Anyway, you guys see that when it's on the video. Anyway, so it says Casal Ouch with his wife, shown here in 2010. He then proceeded to sabotage our business relationship by setting up another company with his friends, selling an adulterated form of the Neo device, and copied the manual that I wrote off my website, which he sold with his products. Oof. In response, I did another meditation video with a Neo device asking the ETs for divine intervention and to clean out the dark cabal strongholds and underground bases. 2 days later, there was the earthquake in Virginia, which cracked the apex of the Washington Monument. Oh wow. It is a symbol of power for the Illuminati. Their power base was now cracking. According to Benjamin Fulford, F-U-L-F-O-R-D, and David Wilcock, W-I-L-C-O-C-K, the earthquake was not a natural occurrence. It was caused by the detonation of weapons by the extraterrestrials deep within the underground facilities. Personnel were beamed out prior to the attack, but the biggest losers were the leaders of the Dark Cabal. Folks like the Rockefellers and Rothschilds would no longer have a place to hide. They would no longer be allowed to live through World War III in their lavish underground palaces. In December 2011, Casal called me. I picked up the phone and heard a very soft-spoken, gentle voice asking for James Rink. He explained to me that he was told to call me and he had no memories of his past. He said the last thing he remembered was being rescued from an underground facility where he was repeatedly interrogated by members of the covert government. When they asked him questions about me, Casal would say, James Rink is a super soldier, he is Agent Sabretooth, and that was in quotes. They would then tell him to look into the white light, and that was in quotes, and he would black out. He said that they were trying to lobotomize his memory so that he would not remember me or how to make a meditation device ever again. They also told him they were really pissed at us because they had been working on this plan for 10,000 years and we come along and destroyed all their work by altering the timelines with our meditations. He told me he was placed into a coffin-like bed where they would plug him and other kidnapped savants into a virtual reality AI computer where he was forced by the covert government to create technology for black magic rituals and mind control. The next thing he recalled was hearing gunshots and seeing a group of blonde-haired, blue-eyed Pleiadians dressed up as black ops soldiers rescuing him. Casal and other inventors who were being held were all pulled out and the entire base was destroyed. I've been told these were reptilians shape-shifted to look Pleiadian. He then remembers being placed onto a black helicopter that seemed to levitate from a dual conventional anti-gravitic propulsion system. The helicopter then rendezvoused with a delta-shaped craft that transported him to a Pleiadian light ship. I'll leave that at that. Don't go hang, okay, we ain't a good chance to meet again. Love you, minute.